Welcome back. The only men and women on the plantation were the black people. One of the reasons some white people support the erasure of black history, such as slave narratives, is because they're ashamed of the evil, ugly things white people did on the plantations. They want a better history of their ancestors. They want heroes, not villains. However, many black people are ashamed of their enslaved ancestors. For example, in the excerpt that I'll be reading from Harriet Jacobs' narrative, she calls black men inferior men. I don't agree. The only men and women on the plantation were the black people who worked and did their best to survive, as well as to help others to survive. The other people on the plantation were cruel, predatory parasites who had the ability to work but chose to steal the labor of others and destroy their lives. But I'll read what she wrote. While the free states sustain a law which hurls fugitives back into slavery, how can the slave resolve to become men? There are some who strive to protect wives and daughters from the insults of their masters, but those who have such sentiments have had the advantage above the general mass of slaves. They have been partially civilized and Christianized by favorable circumstances. Africans were always civilized. Some are bold enough to utter such sentiments to their masters. Oh, that there were more of them. Some poor creatures have been so brutalized by the lash that they will sneak out of the way to give their masters free access to their wives and daughters. Do you think this proves the black man to belong to an inferior order of beings? What would you be if you had been born and brought up a slave with generations of slaves for ancestors? I admit that the black man is inferior, no way. But what is it that makes him so? It is the ignorance in which white men compel him to live. It is the torturing whip that lashes manhood out of him. It is the fierce bloodhounds of the South and the scarcely less cruel human bloodhounds of the North who enforce the fugitive slave laws. They do the work. Harriet, black men were victims of slavery as well as black women, and the only inferior men in the story are the white men who raped and pillaged and killed. Harriet's statement is victim blaming and comes from her place of privilege. As she herself records, the odds were against the black people. Quote, "There is a planter in the country not far from us whom I will call Lich. He was an ill-bred, uneducated man, but very wealthy. He had 600 slaves, many of whom he did not know by sight. There was a jail and a whipping post on his ground, and whatever cruelties were perpetrated there, they passed without comment. He was so effectually screened by his great wealth that he was called to no account for his crimes, not even for murder." So yeah, they fought the master and got killed. Would that help the women? They'd still be killed.